back on the Boulevard Sunday, May 19th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. Well, the UFL playoffs are set, and sadly, the DC Defenders are not part of them. So, we'll have a moment of silence for the 2024 DC Defenders season. Thank you. That is all. I'll be talking about them the rest of the night. In the UFL Week 9 highlights. Can you believe this? Tom Brady shows up at a UFL game. All is right in the world. He even talked to John DeFilippo, who beat him in the Super Bowl when he was a quarterback coach for the Eagles. Didn't look too thrilled, do you, Tom, about that conversation? You look pretty happy talking to Mike Nolan. Met some kids. It's Michigan and Memphis. Last home regular season game in Ford Field. Brian Lewerke getting the go. He'll split reps with Bryce Perkins throughout the day, finding Samson Nakua, who Tom Brady will get to know his brother Puka's name. NFL on Fox season. Now Lewerke to Cole Hicatini, early first quarter. First drive, Panthers strike with a touchdown. It's 6-0 early, and they would convert the one to make it 7-0. But Wes Hills goes down on this play. You think it's a non-contact injury. They told us it was a quad. He comes out in crutches, just devastating for Wes Hills. It's a 6-0 game, correction there, for Michigan. Hate to lose Hills. For Case Cookus and Dawood Davis on the first drive, see you later. Unbelievable. First play from scrimmage for the Showboats, who continue to show out in the first quarter of games. 9 to go first. Michigan trying to answer with Bryce Perkins. Going to roll to his right, make a couple men miss. This is what Perkins can do. Through the air and on the ground. Nice little pickup there. From the Virginia Cavalier, hands it right up the middle to Matt Colburn, who was going to get a heavier workload with his buddy Hills out in the backfield. He'll score from just a few yards out, make this thing 12-6. Showboats now, 3 minutes to go first quarter. Case Cookus looking for Dawood Davis down there somewhere. Actually, it was Vinny Papali, but picked off by Nate Brooks on the underthrow. Stepping in for Kai Nakua, who had to miss this week with a concussion. Brooks, nice interception there. Late first half, Lewerke up top. Picked off by Quentin Meeks, but wait, we're going to take a look at this one. One-on-one coverage here for Meeks, trying to answer with a pick, get the Showboats the ball back. Covering Devin Ross here, and they rule it down. So no interception for Quentin Meeks. Lewerke trying to take advantage of that. 3rd and 10. Big time sack by Max Roberts. Getting in there, going to force Michigan to punt. Memphis getting it back, 1:56 to go in the half. Cannot take a sack there, but it's Kenny Willekes, former Michigan State Spartan, doing it in the home state in front of the Ford Field faithful. Now Perkins, 1st and 10. Shrugs off one defender, getting out of bounds with under a minute to play here in the first half, trying to set up Jake Bates for a field goal. Perkins on 2nd and 10 across the middle. They don't have to kick a field goal because Devin Gray takes this one all the way to the house. Michigan doing it with different guys this time. Didn't have to be the Marcus Sims show. Really good to see for Gray. Get himself in the box score. Michigan made it 18-6. Memphis was able to sneak a 55-yard bomb from Matt Coughlin to cut this to a one-score game. 18-9 Michigan at the half. First drive, second half, up top. D. Anderson makes a catch from Cookus. Beautiful catch in one-on-one, but wait, Cookus goes down. Takes the hit, stands in the pocket, waits to see if it gets caught, and once it did, he was just deflated. Cookus had to leave the game, so enter Josh Love, who started as QB1 for the Panthers last season. The Michigan faithful used to watching him, now doing it in a different uniform. And who else but Dawood Davis, who was the best player clearly on the football field in Michigan. Davis with 2 touchdowns, makes it 18-15, could not get the 2-point conversion. Michigan with a 3-point lead and an uncharacteristic miss at home for Jake Bates, who cannot get it on the 51-yarder. So Memphis hanging around. 3rd and 8 for Josh Love. Has his team in the red zone. Batted down at the line of scrimmage. We talk about that Michigan front seven all the time. DeFilippo can't believe it. Hey, at least he got to talk to Brady in the pregame. Bryce Perkins inside the 5-yard line. 8.5 minutes to go. Perkins, Matt Colburn, touchdown. Was it enough, though, to ice this game? 2 touchdowns for Colburn, had 24 carries, 93 yards on the day. You go for 3. What does Scott Van Pelt say? Significant to some. Dropped by Cole Hicatini. Remember, folks, the spread here was 8.5. That would have got you home. Maybe, because Memphis is going to get the ball back under 6 minutes to go. Josh Love trying to rally. Big-time sack there from the new signing, Sean Mahone. Filling in for Kai Nakua just fine. Love again, 3rd and 20. Back against the wall. Got to make a play. Just not enough protection. Love didn't get rid of the ball quick enough. Big-time Michigan front seven coming through there. And on a 4th and 1, to ice it, Mike Nolan staying aggressive, say, we'll just take it up the middle with Bryce Perkins. We don't got to punt the ball back and risk Memphis going down to score. Michigan converts the first down, and they get the win over Memphis in front of Tom Brady, in front of the home fans. 6th win this season. Believe that's 5 in a row for the Panthers. Unbelievable performance from Bryce Perkins yet again. 7 for 9, over 100 passing yards in limited action, rotating snaps with Lewerke. Also had 55 rush yards. Devin Gray, 6 catches, 84 yards, and a score for the Panthers, who averaged 14 yards per pass completion. Run defense looked great. Again, Cookus left the game with an injury in the first drive of the second half. Thought Josh Love filled in nicely, but for the Showboats, 103 penalty yards. Cannot have it, even though David Davis had a career game. It's Panthers 24, Showboats 18. Michigan still going for home field advantage. On to our next game here. It's Houston at Birmingham, a massive spread, 16-point favorite. We're the Stallions. Houston 10-1 on the money line. They get things going with Reed Sinnett, picked off by A.J. Thomas. Back-to-back weeks for the safety, getting a picked off McCarron last week. Continuing the big plays, you just see Sinnett trying to loft this one over the middle here, and just to the wrong spot, A.J. Thomas gets that pick. Adrian Martinez now, 3rd and 7. We don't even got to show this, just automatic. You know what he does on those 3rd and 7 plays. Martinez on 3rd and 10 now. Pocket breaking down. Going to find Kevin Austin Jr. for a first down. Birmingham knocking on their first drive. Another 3rd down. Martinez, Deion Kane, touchdown Stallions. They break it open early, 6-0 lead over Houston midway first quarter. Had it down in the red zone again, where they found a lot of success. Benjamin Victor. And you're thinking, oh, the route's on, folks. No wonder this spread was 16, but not so fast, because Mark Thompson, 3rd and 2. They give him the ball, making the entire Birmingham defense miss, driving it like he stole it. Mark Thompson, touchdown, Houston. And you got to love the celebration here, folks. Watch this one. Thompson said he was the jockey before the game, riding that horse all the way to the end zone. Justin Hall going to convert the 2 to pull Houston within 4 here late in the first quarter. So all of a sudden we got a ball game. Adrian Martinez would have something to say about that. But it was broken up on 3rd and 8. Deion Kane can't make a play. Ramiz Ahmed from 45 out extends the Birmingham lead. So early second quarter, still Nolan Henderson, the Delaware Blue Hen, going to come in, fire one to Kiki Chisholm on 3rd down to move the sticks. Henderson, a little bit of a dual threat option for Eric Price's offense. Stuffed that time for Mark Thompson, and J.J. Molson could not hit from 51. It is still 15-8 Birmingham at this point. 8.5 to go first half. Martinez lofting it up in double coverage, picked off by Donald Rutledge. Houston defense forcing some turnovers here. 3rd and 4. Sinnett back in for Henderson. Dancing around in the pocket, trying to find a lane. He's going to do it with his legs. Says to Martinez, anything you could do, I could do better. Here's Sinnett. Drop back on 3rd and 8. Pressure comes. Tries to get away from it. Look at this throw. Across his body, Justin Hall beats the defense. That was a pretty one from Sinnett. Now he has a 3rd and 5. 2:50 to go first half. Hall again. inside the 10-yard line, fighting through defenders to get down to the goal line. And all of a sudden, folks, Houston's in business, knocking on the door. 2 minutes to go. Mark Thompson going to dance in from a few yards out. And it's a one-point game. Back and forth. Houston really kind of owned that second quarter. Here we go again. It was the Preakness this weekend, so Mark Thompson did have some reason to ride his horse. Here's Nolan Henderson on the two-point try. Cannot get his tight end. Braden Bowman in the end zone, so Birmingham has a one-point lead. And if you know anything about Skip Holtz and the Stallions, this is where they thrive, right before the half. But Houston stops them until a penalty comes through. Houston just killed by penalties all season. This extends the Birmingham drive. Houston could have been the first team to stop them on these 2-minute drills before halftime. Instead, Martinez was just going to carve up. 3rd and 9 here. Jay Sternberger across the middle, inside the 40. Here's a 1st and 10 for Martinez. Marlon Williams into the red zone. 30 seconds to go. I mean, you can't write it any better than this. Birmingham does this every single game. Ricky Person first down. What do you think's going to happen here? Touchdown Martinez. Easy as that. 21-14 Birmingham. 7 seconds to go. Into the third quarter now. The reverse for Deon Cain. Fumbles the ball. Thought for a second Houston recovered this one. They pointed that way, but a second look at it tells you, look at Larry Roundtree, 34 in red, flying behind the play here. Recovers that one. So Cain doesn't get to keep his rushing yards, but does end up getting Birmingham the ball back. So here's the Stallions. 3rd and goal. They were excellent on 3rd down throughout the evening. Amari Rogers back from injury. Touchdown in the corner, 28-14. Houston drove all the way back down the field. They got inside the 5 on a 3rd and goal. Birmingham defense stuffed them. Then on a 4th and goal, Henderson gonna roll out, stretch for the pylon, and scores. So Houston going blow for blow with the Stallions, putting on a treat for the home fans. Problem for Houston was Birmingham was 5 for 5 in the red zone because of number 9. Touchdown, Stallions go up 15. Yet again, Houston's turn. Henderson, pump fake, 1st down. But wait, mark them a yard short and they fumble the snap. Could have sworn that was a first, but just an inch short. Henderson goes down. He's injured. 10:35 to go. Now Sinnett probably going to have to come back in here. Martinez, handoff to Larry Roundtree, who fumbles the ball. That one's loose and right into the lap of a Houston defender as you see it pop loose there. They get the ball back. Sinnett off to Thompson, 3rd and 3, shut down by the Birmingham D-line. But wait, a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct on Damon Lloyd. New set of downs for Houston, and Sinnett gonna find Bowman in the end zone. Houston's best offensive output of the season. 28 points for them after this 2-point conversion. 311 yards of total offense. Just a clinic against the number 1 defense in the league. They got it back with 13 seconds to go after Birmingham ate about 7 minutes of clock. Kiki Chisholm to the sideline. 10 seconds to go. Still some life for Sinnett. Chisholm again. They're going to have it at the 25. One more chance here for Sinnett. Drops back. Birmingham just rushes 7. DeMarcus Gates gets the huge sack. Back-to-back weeks. Birmingham linebackers make a massive play with the game on the line. It was Kavaya Tizino last week. DeMarcus Gates this week. Birmingham 35, Houston 28. They cover the 16. Turned out being way too big of a spread, and the over cashes easily in this one. Mark Thompson, his best game of the season, 54 yards and a pair of scores for Martinez. Just an insane stat line yet again. 173 pass, 44 rush, 5 touchdowns, did throw that pick. But what really stood out to me for the Stallions, 5 of 5 in red zone touchdown opportunities. They stave off the Houston rally. It's Stallions 35, Roughnecks 28. Now to the games that matter for playoff positioning. DC and St. Louis without A.J. McCarron. They're going to go with Manny Wilkins And he had his chance early on a 4th and 2. Anthony Beck going to go for it. Try to find Jamarcus Bradley. Throw off the mark. DC on their first drive gets a 48-yard field goal from Matt McCrane. It's a 3-0 ball game with 8.5 minutes to go first. Wilkins again now empty set. Second down. DC coming after him, and they get the sack. So Wilkins under some pressure early from Santos Ramirez and crew. Jordan Tamu gets it back on a 3rd and 8. Across the middle, finds Alex Ellis, who had himself a day. First down, DC. Late first quarter, Tamu driving. First down. Reverse to Kiki QT. They did this one last week. Nice lead blocking there from the center, Mike Maietti. DC has it in the red zone. Things going Reggie Barlow's way early. Tamu on a 2nd and 14. Picked off. Cam Kelly. And a nice return there, too. Jordan Tamu just a couple interceptions the last few weeks. Here's Manny Wilkins now getting it back. He's going to scramble. Nice block ahead by the St. Louis offensive line. Wilkins, 80 yards rushing on the day, proven as a runner. Had some struggle passing it, but it's not that hard when you got Hakeem Butler in there. Butler with a catch. 2nd and 6 now for Wilkins. DC bringing the blitz, and Isaiah Johnson going to get home as a defensive back, just blowing up the line there. But Anthony Beck staying aggressive on 4th down. He's going to go for it here. Wilkins trying to make a play, hits the B button, extending for the first down. That was one of the plays of the game for the former Arizona State Sun Devil. Wilkins on 3rd and 4 now, trying to capitalize off the 4th down conversion. But DC has them all bottled up. So, St. Louis going to be in a 4th down situation. They're not going to go for this one. Andre Schmidt from 26 yards out ties this one up at 3 with 8 minutes to go in the second quarter. Paxton Brooks on the punt. 4th and 12 for DC, but wait! They played it like the other 4th and 12, and Kiki QT. Vincent Smith checked that. Stopped short by Wayne Gallman with a huge stop as a running back playing special teams. That gave St. Louis the ball back in great field position, where they took it in the end zone with Jacob Sailors. Really a turning point in the game. DC thought they had the fake punt sold. Vincent Smith was open, but Wayne Gallman made the play, and they gave it to his backfield mate, Jacob Sailors, for a 9-3 lead. 2nd and 4 now, late in the first half. DC driving, trying to get at least a field goal out of this drive. 3rd and 8. Jordan trying not to take a sack and back McCrane out of his range. Complete to Ty Scott for a first down. McCrane's going to hit 49 yards out. 9-6 game. St. Louis leads it into the break. 15 first half points. How many would we get in the second half? Tamu. Alex Ellis. Touchdown defenders. They take the lead and silence the Dome. It's a 12-9 game. And folks, I never thought I'd see the day. A true miracle. There's always a silver lining. For this one, Alex Ellis. 2-point conversion. First time in years DC gets one of those. It's 14-9. And that was a crucial one. Back to Wilkins. Under 9 minutes to go, third quarter. Gonna scramble. Pick up a first down. They thought he was gonna run out of bounds. Not Manny. Cuts back to the middle of the field. Gets it inside the 15-yard line. Battlehawks knocking. Trying to answer. Wayne Gallman just bouncing off the tacklers into the end zone. Huge day from Gallman. Did it through the air, did it on the ground, and on special teams. 15-14, St. Louis. Late third quarter now, after the 2-point conversion was good. Hakeem Butler gets cracked across the middle by Monte Nicholson. Wind knocked out of him. He did come in shortly after. And here's a 4th down that DC jumps off sides. They could have held St. Louis to 3 here. Now it's 2nd and goal. Your defense has to step up. Do not let St. Louis in the end zone. Too late for that. But wait, there's a flag holding on Jake Sutherland. Bring it back. 37-yarder. They end up holding him to 3 anyway. In a rough situation for St. Louis. Would have loved to have a touchdown there. Tamu gets it back on 3rd and 5. Ropes one in. for Kiki QT. Another third down here. 6:25 to play. Jordan trying to do it with his legs, ends up a yard short. Decision time for Reggie Barlow. Down 6 minutes to go. 4th and 2, Darius Higgins breaking through the first level of the defense into the secondary for the conversion. 5 minutes to go now. Ty Scott, clutch, stepping up for Kelvin Harmon, who went to the IR last week. Scott on the spot, 20-20. They did it again! I can't believe my eyes! DC 2 for 2 on point afters. Caden Smith makes it 21-20. Now St. Louis's turn. And Wayne Gallman. We talked about him all day. Just a great game from the former New York Giant into the red zone. DC, though, still with a chance to hold St. Louis. As we get a penalty here after the play, set the Battlehawks up on the 2. A late hit from DC. That was critical for this drive. I was on a 3rd and goal. Gallman plows in from 2 yards out. St. Louis 26, DC 21. Last chance for the defenders. Chris Rowland. Nice return to set the defenders up. They get it into plus territory for Brandon Smith. 1:48 to go. 2 timeouts for the defenders. Can't kick a field goal down 5. Got to have a touchdown. And folks, this is where they blew it. Loss of 4 on 2nd and 10. 3rd and 14. Trying to get it all. St. Louis pass rush gets home with Willie Harvey, who's been a dominant force all season. Jordan goes down. They challenge this one for helmet-to-helmet contact by Pita Taumo-Penu. Does not win the challenge. Jalen McClendon has to come in for an injured Tamu. Trying to make a miracle on 4th and 24. We do a little pitchy woo-woo here. It ain't going to work out for DC. St. Louis 26, DC 21. The defenders outgained the Battlehawks 298-235 on a day where they were missing McCarron. DC gives up 4 first downs on penalties, and for the Battlehawks, they win the turnover battle, and they clinch an XFL championship game bid where they would take on the winner of the next game. But for this one, it was Battlehawks 26, Defenders 21. On to the Alamo Dome as we wrap up the weekend in San Antonio. 3.5-point favorite over the Arlington Renegades. Quentin Dormady getting the start after he was pulled out of last week's game for Kevin Hogan. Finds a familiar face who missed the last 4 weeks, but does it with ease. Anthony McFarland, touchdown San Antonio on the first drive. Welcome back to the UFL, McFarland. Now Luis Perez trying to answer. Has Javonte Payton behind the defense, but he drops it through the hands. Bo Pete Keys trying to make his last effort there. Ultimately, Payton should have had that one. Dormady with the ball back to his friend Cody Latimer, moving the sticks for a first down midway first quarter. Brahmas with the lead. Nice pass there to Katie Cannon. Dormady finding all his former Orlando Guardian friends. But on this drive, San Antonio would settle for 3, making it a 10-0 ball game. Start of the second quarter now. It was all Brahmas in the first half. In the plus territory. Now a 3rd and 6 for Dormady. Wheels. Burning. QD. First down, San Antonio. Now 7 minutes to go in the half. Down 13-0. Arlington needs something. Tyler Vaughn's along that far sideline. Gets him into the red zone. Jonathan Garibay would come on to cut this to a 10-point deficit. 13-3 as we wound down time in the first half. 3 minutes to go. Here's Dormady to Anthony McFarland, who just shook the Renegades out of their shoes there. I mean, broken ankles left and right. Anthony McFarland, have a day. 20-3, San Antonio. Perez, before the half, trying to make something happen, and that Brahmas defense makes him pay for it. Delonte Scott, all these guys on the defensive side of the ball getting healthy at the right time. Cody Latimer, big day, 6 catches for 116 yards. San Antonio trying to add some more points. Already a 17-point lead. Going into the half, they run the ball on 3rd and 20. Not in Santoso's range, so they run it out. And they say, we'll take a 17-point lead into the half. And then Lindsey Scott Jr., that's the Scott Jr. we know and love, playing in the home city where he starred at Incarnate Word across the street. Great to see him do his thing. Luis Perez. Now floating one for friend of the Boulevard, Sal Cannella. We had him on Thursday. He finds the end zone Sunday. Touchdown Arlington to pull them back in at just a beautiful ball from Perez over the outstretched arms of Jordan Mosley, the safety. Cannella, after 2 touchdowns last week, scores again. 3rd and 4 now. Latimer going to find the end zone, but wait, it's coming back. 1:45 to go 3rd, and Renegade fans are starting to feel like they could mount a comeback here. Wade Phillips not pleased with that one. Back San Antonio up to a 3rd and 14. Arlington pass rush gets home. Backs him out of field goal range. Ryan Santoso going to miss this one. Might have had that if it was 10 yards short. 20-9. Arlington with the ball back. 4th and inches. Huge stop from the San Antonio defense. Will Reed's guys doing it big. Still a 20-9 game. And Anthony McFarland just could not be stopped. He's listed as a running back, but he had 3 catches for 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ryan Santoso just struggled. San Antonio could not put the Renegades away. So Perez trying to capitalize on these opportunities. Finds Cannella inside the 5. 1:49 to play. Down by 11. Last chance, Renegades, 3rd and goal. Perez waits and finds Javonte Payton redeeming himself for the early drops. It's a 5-point game, 2-point conversion. Almost needed that one, but you're still going to get a chance at the 4th and 12 alternative onside kick. Perez did it last year to Sal Cannella against DC. Could not do it this year. Big-time sack by the Brahmas defense. Prince Emili gets home, and the San Antonio Brahmas lock up the 4th and final UFL playoff spot with a 5-point win. They did not score in the second half, but played a good enough first half that they were able to hold off the Arlington comeback. Seems like Anthony McFarland with 3 catches for 118 and 2 touchdowns really unlocked this offense. Brahmas had 7 pass completions of 15-plus yards. They clinched the playoff bid, and the Renegades fall to 1-7. It's Brahmas 20, Arlington 15. So the playoffs are set. I'm surprised I still have my voice. I did a lot of yelling at my television screen today. DC, got to have that one. We're going to get into that one and more. Thank you for joining us tonight. Make sure you drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. If you're with us on Twitter or X, hit us with a retweet. And Chris Zook had some top 3 moments of UFL Week 8 for us.
All right, Matt, you nailed that field goal there. Coach Beck decides to go with the ice. You still come back and nail it. How does it change your process when the coach tries to do that to you?
If anything, it usually gives kickers a practice kick, but that's our game ball 1, so I didn't want to hit it. So, it doesn't really change it for us. It's just we keep focusing on the next kick, and that's what we're here to do.
You're that superstitious on a certain football that you want to have that one football to kick.
I mean, any kicker wants game ball 1, and that's what we want, so we'll go with that one.
If you're listening to this, AJ, go ahead and take a week off. You do have some time to prepare for the playoffs and the championship. And I could sit here, and I will, and beat the Shield all day. And I'll do what I do every single week, sit here in this chair. I'll tell you, DC's going to beat St. Louis.
I think this is my favorite segment of the year. Just sitting here listening to you trash your own team on how bad they are.
Not so fast, my friend. I'm picking DC straight up here, obviously, Zook, because I have to, not because I want to. Back on the Boulevard, Sunday, May 19th. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as playoffs for the DC Defenders. Thank you, Chris Zook, for your top 3 moments. Really appreciate number 1. Dancing on my grave, as usual. Well, let's just look at our results. We had Week 8 best bets, a 5-pack of plays, Zook and I. Not our best week, not our worst week. Somewhere in between. Some bad beats, especially on your end. We started with the under 43 in Houston and Birmingham. That game got out of hand early, did not go how I expected. I figured, maybe Houston will get a couple of touchdowns. They end up scoring 28. Offense comes out of nowhere. This team was 6-1 to the under, and they go off for 300 yards and 28 points. So we had, just a ton of points, over 63, I think, in that one or something like that. We had DC plus 7.5 cash, and I know a lot of you probably didn't get the opportunity to bet that if you waited till kickoff. We talked about this line coming all the way down from 8 to 3.5 at close.
Big time move.
Yeah, if you were ever curious about how valuable A.J. McCarron is to a football game, there's your answer. Crazy, a full 4.5 points. So,
and if you
watched on Thursday,
that's right. If you listen to Matt for the first time ever, you could have cashed on this way before, because
I do feel bad for the people who had 3.5 because you waited too long and you lost.
We were pretty certain that AJ wasn't going to play. Yeah. So it was a good bet.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully you were able to hop right on that one as soon as you saw the show. If not, probably your last chance betting DC this season. The under.
Well, wait, no, they play Memphis next week.
I don't care. not taking them. I don't think I'm taking them. Might see all the second stringers in, but under 44.5 in the St. Louis and DC game is a loser. Just got over, I think, 47 total. So
that's tough
close.
Too, because what was it, 15.5?
Yeah, 9-6 at half. I know. Looked at the live total at one point; it was down to 38. And yeah, I mean, St. Louis. We'll talk about that later, but didn't even get to 100 passing yards and got 26 points out of the deal. So, Zook, a pair of plays for you. You split them.
Yeah, I did another split. I'm still under 500. I'm pretty pissed off. This Michigan beat hurt me, though, because I cover if I get that Jake Bates field goal that he missed from 51, and I also cover if they get that 3-point play from the 2.
Yeah. Have we taken Jake Bates for granted to think he's just automatic from 51?
I mean, he's human. I guess we know that now, right? So it was a bad beat for me. Should have been there. Should have made it. I even know a couple guys that tailed me, and one was here watching the game, sweating it with me.
Yeah, you got that at open, so you got the best line value you could have had, but
he had it at 8.5, who was here with me, and he was like, what are you doing to me, man? I'm like, this was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like,
3-point play from the 2. I mean, Hicatini drops it. Ball a little bit behind him. Nonetheless, Michigan wins by 6. So Memphis gets the cover. However, I did have action on the under.
I hit a total. Let's go.
Which is interesting because you were hoping for, 27-18? There to win by 9, right? Yeah. So that would have still been...
Well, like I said on Thursday, it had a 30-15 feel.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I liked Michigan by 10 is what I said.
Yeah. That game opened up in the first half.
And it could have been. It could have been there.
I think the first quarter, they scored on the first 3 drives. So that was a sweat, but you end up hitting the under. You split your plays. As a show, quick math, we are 18, 15, and 2. So we are still in the positive heading into week 9 of the UFL season. Not our best week, not our worst week. We'll be back for more best bets in week 9. As far as the people's gambler, shall we have a moment of silence for him as well? Oh, boy. Bryce Perkins probably would have been a great start if he had played the full game. With the reps that he got, 13, not bad. Probably didn't have a lot of people start him because of the timeshare with Brian Lewerke, but David Davis was the best player on the field, and he showed that with 23. And this St. Louis pass game just did nothing. I talked about not getting to 100 passing yards, so the receivers did not benefit. Tough week for the People's Gambler. But we're not done yet, folks. Big bounce back incoming from all three of the Boulevard boys. All right, we got some games to talk about. Again, thank you for being with us tonight. We really appreciate you coming on. It is 10:47 on the East Coast, and action kicked off on Saturday at 4 o'clock here on the East Coast with Michigan moving past Memphis, 24-18. Showboats get the cover. I believe it's one of their first covers all season. And the under catches, as we talked about with Zook. Main takeaways from this one. I thought, 2 quarterback system for the Panthers worked just fine yet again. Bryce Perkins looked like the better quarterback, as we expected him to. 7 for 9, 106 yards, and a touchdown. 213.4 quarterback rating. Again, just continues to complete a ton of his passes. He doesn't get many incompletions, and he can run the ball as well. 9 carries for 55 yards for Perkins. So a fine game from him. Brian Lewerke also did what he did against DC. Very efficient as a game manager. Led them right down the field on the first drive to score. What stood out in the first half of this one to me, Wes Hills goes down. That is a really tough loss when you go into the stretch of this season and you got to play Birmingham in the USFL championship game. And now you got Matt Colburn, who's a solid RB2 and could emerge as a very good RB1. He had 24 carries for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns without Hills. In fact, some of you might say Colburn against DC emerged as the RB1. So maybe it's just a 2-horse race there. But when you look at the depth chart for Michigan, the only other running back on the roster here is Nate McCrary, who has not been active for a while. He's out of Saginaw Valley State, undrafted player back in the 21 class. So Michigan fans are going to need to know some of these names, and really UFL fans in general. Get to know Bryce Perkins. He could be your quarterback down the stretch. Will Danny Etling come back from that injury to his non-throwing hand? To be determined. But it's Colburn and McCrary going forward, because I think we can agree, Zuck, Wes Hills probably going to end up on the IR. That did not look like a pretty injury.
Didn't look like a hamstring, did it?
They said a quad.
Oh yeah,
on the
quad.
sideline.
My bad.
I'd like to take their word for it, but man, you get those scary non-contact injuries, especially on turf,
right
inside of Ford Field, and nobody touched him, and he just
right. Pre-show, I said add a letter before CL, and that's what it feels like.
Yeah, and Hills did, come out in crutches and cheer on his team the rest of the way, and he's definitely one of their leaders, and it absolutely sucks for him to get hurt, but Michigan has bounced back well from injuries. When you look at this team going down the stretch, how much of a loss is Wes Hills to them, and do you think that they have a threat in Bryce Perkins now that can maybe counteract having 2 running backs?
I think it's big. The question I want to know is, and they spoke about this on the broadcast, should Colburn be getting 24 carries a game, or should they be shutting him down to make sure they have him for the playoffs?
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting. So
I don't think you can, because only, like I said, you have to sign a running back if you're going to do that. So you got to go find Philip Lindsay. See
bring him back. I'm in for Philip.
I'm
Lindsay.
sure Steve Kaiser, the GM here, and Mike Nolan have some connections. I actually remember David Johnson? He was a running back for the Cardinals a while back. If you had him on your fantasy team, you know him from back in 2018. He retired today. So maybe maybe that's just an NFL retirement. Maybe
I think you got to go get somebody, and I think there's a lot of validity to what they're saying is shut him down, make sure you have somebody healthy. Obviously, that's based off of how Wes is actually feeling. it looks a lot worse than what they're reporting. And
Yeah, there's some
I
running
don't know.
backs available that they can go get. There's definitely a big player pool. But yeah, that's a tough injury to have.
This game kind of concerned me because it's a little too close
Yeah.
against a bad team. As 5-2 going in against a 1-6, you should cover. You really should.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And I'm not sure if I've seen enough out of Michigan, and this is going further out, to can they really beat Birmingham?
Yeah, Panthers were a popular pick on the betting card at 8 and 8.5. I think this line closed at 9.5. So sportsbooks took a pretty big win on the Panthers not covering. For the Memphis side, if Case Cookis stays in this game, and this is nothing against Josh Love, who looked pretty good, but if Case Cookis stays in this game, it might be a Memphis win. He does get hurt on the first drive of the second half, takes a big hit, stands in the pocket, delivers it, and man, it just, if you watch Case Cookis highlights this season, you're going to see two things: deep bombs that were completed, to some pretty good receivers, and just a ton of injuries and sacks.
I disagree. I think
Michigan still gets it without him.
No, and same thing. Listening to the broadcast, I thought Love brought a different poise, better communication, and I felt like their offense got up and actually played harder under him than what you've been seeing from Cookis the entire year. And is that just because it's somebody fresh, or is it because they're not completely behind him? I'm not sure. I don't want to make accusations, but I thought there was a clear difference in how the entire offense moved with Love behind it.
Yeah, I could see the spark for sure, and we talked about Josh Love being the former Michigan Panther and coming back to Ford Field in front of some familiar fans, and yeah, 9 for 12, 56 yards and a touchdown for Love. Troy Williams was inactive for this game, so Love was able to get some reps, and he did what he could. But again, Memphis just, even in a game where it was close, no running game, they had 16 carries for 40 yards. Great job yet again from that Michigan defense, who was missing some pieces. We talked about Kai Nakua being out. Noah Dawkins was out as well. The defense stepped up big when they needed to and shut this one down. Even with like 7.5 minutes to go, Memphis gets the ball. Plenty of chances, right? And Michigan defense comes up big. Another guy who broke out, Devin Gray, the receiver, 6 catches, 84 yards. That was a great game for Gray, who's been silent this season. But really what this one comes down to for John DeFilippo, and probably what keeps him up at night, 13 penalties, 103 yards for the Showboats. Just bad team at this point, and probably played one of their best games. I know they did beat Houston in week 1, so you'd have to say that was their best performance, but even that one, they snuck out a win, so they showed some effort. I have to give it to them. They didn't quit on the season, and David Davis is an animal. He belongs in the NFL, just a great player. I mean, he dominated this game. 3 catches, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 4 targets. I mean, they need to get this guy the ball more, and maybe that's credit to Michigan for locking him down on certain plays, but man, he dominated from the jump, and good to see Davis.
Quick question for you. Do you think it's a personnel or a coaching problem that Memphis is so bad?
The defense continues to give up a ton of rushing yards, 161 again. So, oh man, this defense is just not built to stop the run. So I would say probably a little bit of both. I know I'm giving a politician's answer here, but I don't know. I think it you can't point the finger in one direction. This roster was obviously not constructed with defense in mind. I think they went offense heavy and maybe swung and missed a little bit on Darius Victor as a back who is kind of at the tail end of his career here. But defensively, yeah, they did not put together a team that could stop anybody. And
Yeah, sorry for putting you on the spot. He didn't
That's
know I was
tough.
going to ask you that.
Yeah.
Or they did. Yeah, you didn't know I was going to ask you that. But like for me, I feel like I try to watch the player interactions between DiFilippo and the roster, and it always seems like he's really liked.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think it's personnel.
Yeah. We'll see.
That would have been my answer to that question.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to give up on DiFilippo yet. We'll see how the UFL handles that down the stretch. I do expect him to be back. Yeah, Memphis will be home next week against DC. And Michigan is still actually fighting for home field, so they do have something to play for, I believe, being 6-2, and Birmingham being 8-0. That means that if Birmingham were to lose the next 2 weeks, they play with Michigan in week 10. So if both teams were 8-2, would Michigan have a shot at home field? We'll see. We'll get into all the tiebreaker scenarios and the playoff picture on Thursday's show, but they haven't said the USFL championship game is in Birmingham yet, which tells me that there is still a chance for Michigan to actually pull the 1 seed. Very unlikely as they prepare for the Stallions either way, but could get interesting in week 10. They definitely still have something to play for. On to the next one, Birmingham with a 7-point victory over the Houston Roughnecks. I said on Thursday, wouldn't it be funny if the Stallion streak survived St. Louis in what everybody called the UFL Game of the Year, but lost to Houston? And this game opens up in the first quarter. Birmingham scores 2 touchdowns right away. Martinez looks awesome. The offense clicking on all cylinders. Defense had a pick. And I'm just thinking, man, it's just too easy for Birmingham. Walk in the park in front of the home fans at night, and they're just going to coast. Well, Houston answered, and they answered big time with an offensive performance that I did not see coming. Again, I was on the under 43 in this game. I thought it would go very similar to the rest of the Houston games, which is just 3 yards and a cloud of dust from Eric Price and the Roughnecks. But, man, Reed Sinnett had a couple nice throws. Nolan Henderson came in this one as a third quarterback for most of the year, but now he's able to see some game action and thought he played well. 9 for 14, 97 yards. Definitely Houston's best performance of the year. And listen, it's not easy when you're Birmingham to just blow everybody out every single week. And honestly, I don't expect them to. When this line came out at 16, guys, that's absurd. And people were just auto-laying the points like, yeah, they're just blowing them out. Like, Birmingham is human. I don't care that they only won this game by 7. I don't drop them in the power poll or say, oh, wait, this team has questions. They might not be built for a championship. I don't do any of that. I just know this is football, and these type of spots exist. I actually guessed the wrong side of the ball. I thought they'd have an offensive hangover, not a defensive hangover. Ended up being the other way around. Their defense looked a bit hungover out there until the end when they stepped up and made the plays that they needed to make. For Houston, Mark Thompson, a couple huge runs. It was good to see him get going and do that little horse celebration in the end zone. That was just a filthy way to disrespect those fans there, but it was entertaining to watch.
I wish he was mic'd up for that.
Yeah, he would have hit him with a little neigh. He said that he was the jockey before the game. So, yeah, I think Houston overall just not enough red zone defense, really. I mean, they did enough offensively, but they let Birmingham go 5 for 5 in the red zone. Just a perfect night. Both teams had 2 turnovers. And so the turnover battle was even there. Thought Birmingham was excellent on third down. Yet again, Martinez such a weapon with his legs on those kind of plays. And we came in thinking lean on Ricky Person, run the ball, 15 carries, 63 yards, no touchdowns. But Martinez, 6 carries, 44 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 7.3 average. Is that low for him, Zook? He's usually out here running for 12 yards a carry. But he played the whole game. Are you surprised we didn't see Matt Corral late, or because it was a close game, you're not shocked to see Martinez play wire to wire?
Yeah, I just think it's about reps for him. God, is he good?
Yeah.
I watch every time I watch him, he amazes me. He just looks like he glides around the stadium and just does everything. He counts for all 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's just a great player. My question to you is, do you think he's the clear-cut MVP at this moment? Because
If I had to give it today?
Today.
Yeah.
I know I do.
Today, yeah. The 5 touchdowns. You talk about like Heisman moments in college football. I mean, basically, if you don't have Adrian Martinez scoring 5 touchdowns here, what's the score of this game? I mean, he's such a difference maker from okay, this is how the game is unfolding and this is how it's going. So now I'm going to have to make just that many more plays and step up when I'm needed because our defense isn't. So
I'm gonna ask you an even harder question. I want to hear your response. Probably just because I want you to get blown up on Twitter.
Not enough of that today.
Bring it on. Take him out of the equation. So, as an MVP, that means you're the best player on that team, and you elevate them into wins. If he wasn't playing, is Matt Corral going to do the same thing that he's doing? And I'm not talking statistically. Yeah. I'm just saying winning ball games, impacting.
I would say Martinez has an uncanny ability to adapt to game situations. And I think we saw that in large part against St. Louis. Sure, he might not want to run, but he knows that he has to. And he did shake off an early pick in this game. Has he been the most accurate passer of the deep ball? No, there's quarterbacks better than him at that in this league, and one might be on his own roster. But what he can do is make enough plays to win you a game. To answer the question, Zook, I think if Matt Corral's in this game, it goes a lot differently. Drives look different. You probably don't get that score before half. That's been a Martinez and Skip Holtz specialty where
that's unfair because Corral did the same thing a few times. He just hasn't had the same opportunities.
Yeah, no, and I beat the Matt Corral drum all day on this show, and people hop in my DMs and say he's trash and I'm crazy. No, that's not the case. He's just a really good player on the roster above him. But no, I don't think the game goes the same way. I think Birmingham still probably wins, maybe by a field goal instead of a touchdown.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. I know I'm throwing questions your way that I wasn't going to ask.
Bring it on.
But it's fair because I listened to the broadcast and they're 100% saying, "Oh, he's the MVP. There's nothing else to talk about." And I'm not sure because again, if you listen to the whole broadcast, there's 14 guys on this roster that have started NFL games. Wire to wire, the entire roster is ready for this, and that's why they're playing so damn good, right?
Yeah. It begs the question. Talking about most valuable player, how do we define that? Is it a statistical award because Martinez is running away with it? If it's an award of, hey, A.J. McCarron just moved a line from 8 to 3.5 by not being in a game, that's value right there. So
right,
yeah.
And I don't. But that's the interesting part of that. If Corral or Martinez was to get hurt and Corral were to start, I don't think that line moves that much.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's a good point. Not maybe a point or two.
Food for thought.
Yeah. I think the real conversation outside of the MVP here is Birmingham's defense will need a bounce back. This was not great against the worst offense in the league. They gave up 311 total yards. In fact, they were almost outgained, believe it or not. The yardage battle was 322 to 311. They gave up 135 on the ground. Houston was 8 of 15 on third down. That was a very good mark for them. And they had Justin Hall out here, 4 catches, 73 yards. Kiki Chisholm, 7 catches, 80 yards. So Birmingham.
Remember, though, Houston's the last team to beat them.
Yeah.
And they're very familiar. Just because they have the XFL logo doesn't mean that they haven't played them a lot in the USFL itself. Right. So I think that carries a lot, right? Is it the last two teams to beat them or last team to
Maybe,
beat them?
yeah. So this is 15 in a row now for the Stallions. Last team to beat them was the Houston Gamblers with Mark Thompson and C.J. Johnson and a lot of the same guys. Yeah, I mean.
But the time before that is what I'm saying. I think they're.
Was it really?
I think Houston beat them. They've only lost like 3 times in spring football.
Ever.
And I think Houston beat them twice.
Okay. Yeah, well,
I'm not sure if I'm totally right with that, but I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, so there you go. And really for Houston, like Nolan Henderson coming in was fun to watch. He provided a spark and played really well. And, yeah, just really 1 or 2 plays away. I mean, even like right before half, Zook, where they had him stopped on a 3rd down, that's your money right there. That's what no one else has been able to do. And then you just give up an offsides. Like Houston, another 8 penalties. And you just have to go in that locker room 1-7 thinking, like, we had a chance here to break spring football wide open. And we scored enough to do it. We did enough offensively to do it. But, we had a missed 51-yard field goal. I guess you can't really count on that, but we had some stupid penalties. And
it's all about discipline. There's a reason why one team's 8-0 and one's 1-7.
Yeah.
That's all there's to it, right?
Yeah, I will say, I know that on this show we talk a lot about spreads, and do I knock a team that was a 16-point favorite because they only won by 7? Not really. I know people say, well, what do you mean? That's crazy. Like, you would do it to St. Louis or you would do it to San Antonio. Maybe, but the way that this game goes and the way the sport of football goes, it seems to be really all season. Big win, hangover. Big loss, demoralizing loss, bounce back. And if you're betting, that's important to know. It's Birmingham 35, Houston 28. The final as the Stallions will be in San Antonio next weekend for an interesting game in the Alamo Dome. All right, on to the XFL side of things. Where to begin? Another loss for my DC Defenders. You lose without A.J. McCarron in the picture, and it just makes me sick to the stomach because this was your opportunity. No Ja'Cour Pearson, no Marcel Aitman, no A.J. McCarron is devastating to this offense, and you could see that because they didn't even pass for 100 yards. But I don't even know where I go with this. I feel like I said all the same stuff like the last 3 weeks. It's just the same thing over and over again. I guess what I'll point to in this one is the end of the game. So you have a situation where you're down by 5. Wayne Gallman just broke off a 38-yard screen pass that got St. Louis in the red zone. They added 15 on top of that from a late hit that I still have yet to see a replay on, but I was told by people at the game it was a blindside hit. So you set St. Louis up at the 2, whatever. They go in, they barely score. I mean, Gallman just gets the nose of the ball over, they go up 5. So now you get the ball back with 2 minutes left. Chris Rowland takes it back, gets you in great field position right around midfield to start the drive. You have 2 timeouts on this drive. Right away, huge completion across the middle to Brandon Smith. Now you're in business with like a minute and a half to go. You saw this on the highlights. You're down by 5. You have a 2nd and 10. Tamu swings it over to Darius Higgins in the flat. You lose 4 yards. So whether that's on Tamu for not throwing it away, or maybe he didn't see the corner coming up, closing on Higgins, you lose 4 yards. So remember, at this point, I believe they were inside the 35. So they had a chance in Matt McCrane's field goal range. Just don't go backwards. Okay, so now you're at a 2nd and 14. Excuse me, a 3rd and 14. And now what does St. Louis do? They know you're going to try to get this first down because you're down by 5. This is your shot. But I'm thinking about this situation differently. I'm thinking, okay, it's a 3rd and 14 in this situation, right? Call me crazy. You'll say hindsight's 2020. I was actually thinking going into this play, what if they run the ball in this situation? Run the ball, get a yard or two, make it a 4th and whatever, 13, 4th and 12. Get McCrane out there, who was solid, really the whole season. Kick the field goal, go down 2. Now you get the 4th and 12 back. And you'll have a chance, if you hit the 4th and 12, to be right around field goal range again with some time left. So I guess what I was saying is I would bet on the 4th and 12 more than I would the 3rd and 14. Because what happened on the 3rd and 14 was a sack that knocked Jordan out of the game. They super challenged it for helmet-to-helmet contact on PETA. They don't get the challenge. So then you got a 4th and 24. You got to bring Jalen McClendon in. Now you got to win it or lose it right here. You can't, kick 2 field goals. And maybe I'm overthinking this, but it really started with that second down. You cannot lose yardage on that play. And I just feel like there was too much emphasis on that drive on just move the ball, forget about where we're supposed to be on the field. Like, just move the ball. We have plenty of timeouts. We don't got to worry about tempo or anything. It just felt like after the Brandon Smith catch, they really had an opportunity to at least get 3 out of that drive and then live to see another 4th and 12, which they've converted already this year. But I don't know. I could go back and dissect that situation all day. The fact is, they went from a 2nd and 10 to a 4th and 24 in a matter of 2 plays. St. Louis brought the blitz on that 3rd down, knowing that, regardless, DC receivers were going to have to run those 15 yards to get to the sticks, and they got home to Jordan on a rush before anybody could get open. Defensively, I thought DC played a pretty good game. Like I said, held Manny Wilkins to 9 of 18, 126 yards. You look at rushing, could have done better. Wilkins had 80 yards on the ground, and maybe DC wasn't quite prepared for the mobility that Wilkins provided, but I got to give it off to Manny. That's going to be a guy who gets some looks as a mobile quarterback, maybe in situations where, Arlington does it with Lindsey Scott. There's some other quarterbacks that come in for like 2-point packages, almost like a De'Aaron King type of thing from last year. Maybe Manny Wilkins is kind of a change of pace from A.J. McCarron that you stick in on these weird situations. But he proved himself as a runner for sure. With McCarron out, DC really had no business losing this game, so I have to give it to the St. Louis Battlehawks. Wayne Gallman played a phenomenal game. He really needed that. Hats off to whoever dialed up that fake punt for DC. I thought it was going to work. I mean, that's the situation where, there's times where you expect the fake punt, and then there's times where you definitely aren't seeing it coming. And as far as the game situation, that was the time to do it. They had Vincent Smith, and Wayne Gallman just made a phenomenal play. Sort of baited him a little bit as well. I think Gallman may have known what was coming. I don't know how he was ready for that, but he was. I wasn't mad at DC for that. But, the fact of the matter is DC outgains St. Louis. They 6 of 12 on 3rd down was actually pretty decent compared to like the Michigan game where they were awful on 3rd down. And looking through here, DC had 4 sacks. Like, there's not a lot of categories in the box score that St. Louis won this game in, but 26-21 winners of this one, and they clinch a playoff spot in front of 32,000 in the Dome. So DC's done because San Antonio beat Arlington. I don't even want to say they were just Abram Smith away this year. Would that have helped? Of course. Does that fix everything and get them to the playoffs? Probably not. Again, defense played inspired today. Gotta tip the cap to Ty Scott. Great receiver. Stepped up yet again. 6 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Filled in nicely for Kelvin Harmon. And like I said, I liked Fred Keiss's game plan. It was a lot of first down passes. But they had the 2 turnovers that just killed them. And ultimately, St. Louis was able to make the most of their opportunities in the red zone. They go 3 for 5 there. Zook. Not sure how much more I want to talk about DC, so let's focus on the St. Louis side of things.
This is typical of you.
Well, I talked a lot about it.
On every DC loss, he just keeps going and going and going because he doesn't want me on screen to hear what I have to say.
Here.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Talk about DC.
Matty Stalingrad.
Final thoughts on DC losing to St. Louis without A.J. McCarron.
It comes down to coaching down the stretch every week. I'm a broken record. They just don't have it. They're not performing the way they should be. You talked about the urgency on that last drive. They didn't have it. They mismanaged it. I'm just not going to harp on them.
Yeah.
Let's go to like what you were saying. Let's
Focus on
talk
the winner.
about St. Louis.
Got to give them credit. I think it shows.
Their depth is very impressive.
And their coaching is very impressive.
Well, yeah. I mean, we already knew that, though. Yeah. We haven't been questioning Anthony Beck.
Won a challenge again today. I think he's probably doing it better than anybody else in the UFL. A lot of coaches with some questionable challenges. I know Reggie likes to hold on to his till the end of the game, which can pay off sometimes if you have a bogus call at the end. But Anthony Beck got in early on that challenge, and he won. So, great coaching.
Yeah, they're well coached. We already knew that.
What'd you think of Wilkins?
Wilkins, damn, he is fast.
Slippery, huh?
Slippery is a great word for it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was that fast. Yeah. And he's elusive. And there was a first down in that game where
willed his way.
I didn't think he was that big, and he just spun out of it and just kept going, got 3 more yards, got to the sticks.
Yeah.
They got somebody there. It's definitely a dual threat.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure DC appreciated his speed the same way that I didn't, because I didn't know. Man, he's there.
Yeah, and everything you need to know about Manny Wilkins is you could run out of bounds. He turned up field, cut to the middle of the field, got another 5 yards out of it. Just a fearless player.
I know I knocked DC about being the defenders and they can't defend, but they
Played
do
good
have
defense today.
They did play well.
Yeah.
And Manny puts up 26 on them.
Yeah, and I felt like they were just on the field the entire game.
St. Louis puts up 26.
Right. These, like I had tweeted at one point, they just need a breather, man. They've been on the field. I think that the key sequence for them was they had that stupid penalty of encroachment on a 4th and 1 in the St. Louis red zone, and then they bounced back from their own stupidity, and they actually stopped St. Louis.
Right.
And forced a field goal. They had a 20-14 game. With the offense went down and took the lead. They had a long drive. It's 21-20. And just a blown assignment. A beautiful play call, by the way, from Bruce Gradkowski on that Wayne Gallman screen. I mean, that was execution at its finest.
But think about it this way. Yes. They jumped offsides, right? It was offsides?
Are you talking about the one I just referenced?
The 4th and 1.
It was like encroachment. Yeah,
encroachment, offsides, whatever you can call it. That didn't impact the score because they were going to get 3, and they only got 3.
Right.
But that mistake cost you time.
Right.
And you needed that at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So if you look at it in a different angle like that, it's big. It's very impactful. So you just can't do it. I was screaming at the TV like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and they gave
And I'm not even rooting for DC. I'm just like, why? Why would you do that?
Well,
you got to know better.
They gave up 4 first downs to penalties. And I kept saying throughout the game, St. Louis is not going to beat us with penalties. They got a PI. I'm like, fine, get as many penalties as you want. You got to score eventually. Are you capable of doing it? And they did punch it in a few times, twice with Gallman and once with Sailors. But I had all the faith in the world, down 26-21, with the way Jordan was playing, that they were going to be okay. And, right away, here's Chris Rowland again, putting you in a great spot. And then you get Brandon Smith, and you're in business, and you're thinking, okay, touchdown wins it here. And just the backwards, what are we doing throwing laterally on 2nd and 10? That 4-yard loss will haunt me because I knew what was going to happen on 3rd and 14. It's the same thing that happened in the Birmingham game when Reed Sinnett had one chance to win it. Birmingham brought the blitz. It's the same thing that happened to Luis Perez on 4th and 12 today. San Antonio, like these offensive lines are not good enough to hold up on a 6-7 man rush. When you got your receivers got to get down, they have to be able to run their route. So
it's going to be unpopular to you, especially you. But DC was the benefactor of all those things that are going against them last year, and that's why they won a lot more games than they should have.
Yeah,
like they should have never been 9-1 going into the playoffs. And those bounces of the ball or the calls or whatever are going the other way this year.
But I don't understand this one because you're right about last year. If you look at some of their wins, now will I ever say what Zook just said? No, that to me that's garbage. I think they belong in the playoffs. We could debate that all day. We debated it all of last year.
Yeah.
But yes, there were box scores that they lost, particularly the one Zook's referencing against Seattle, where I think all 3 games Seattle won the box score and lost the game. Now today, little taste of my own medicine, right? DC wins the box score, loses the game.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to point that out.
You're right. It is eating crow for me, and I hate that because they did look good. Like I said, normally for DC, it's like, okay, run up the middle for a yard on 1st down. Jordan scramble around on 2nd down, get us to 3rd and 10, and then maybe he does something, maybe he doesn't, But today it was, no, we're throwing the ball on 1st down. We're finding Alex Ellis. We found Ty Scott, Brandon Smith, Chris Rowland. Play calling was good. The running backs are just awful. I mean, Higgins had the one run on 4th and 2, but he had like 3 drops in the game that killed DC, and Cam Harris is just running in tar, 3 carries for 3 yards.
I will say this, though.
Yeah.
The Abrams-Smith thing really does kind of like hit home with me. Because if he was there and he ran like he ran last year.
Especially in that building. 240 yards rushing in St.
Your
Louis.
play action game is so much better.
Yeah.
He's such an impact. And I'm actually convinced that you are in a playoff race with him.
Oh, we're in the race. No doubt.
Like,
do we make it? Ugh, man, there was problems this year beyond Abrams-Smith.
Sure, but
especially if you want to point to coaching. That, did teams catch up to DC and now they got the film, they know the system.
We're also pointing at the GM too for not doing enough. There's a lot going on, but he is a piece and an X factor. So I'm curious. I would love to know what would change if he was on the roster. Yeah. Well, not on the roster, but not on IR.
Man, I could tell you there was one where it was just like student body left. They had all the blockers, and Higgins just has to make one guy miss, and it's a touchdown. And it ends up a 2-yard gain. I'm thinking just one guy. And you got blockers downfield. That's Abrams-Smith's touchdown right there. And I know Battlehawk fans are rolling their eyes right now. Let's flip it to St. Louis before we close this game out. Situation with A.J. McCarron going forward. Anthony Becht does say we expect to have A.J. back next week. Of course, he's going to sell you on that. We don't really know for sure. We're going to continue to monitor that one. We would expect A.J. is day-to-day at this point. There also is the possibility he could be done for the season. Now, let me say, that's not based on anything that I've heard. That's not based on any information I have that you don't have. All I'm saying is that was a nasty injury, and St. Louis fans have to prepare for the scenario where AJ isn't good enough to get back on the field yet for the rest of the season. Now, there also is a scenario where he could come back next week. So prepare for the worst is what I was always taught. And Manny Wilkins gets a win, goes to 1-0 as a starter. Defensively for St. Louis, Willie Harvey will absolutely be in our Freshie Award special. He will be on our all UFL team. He has been a monster. I mean, the St. Louis defense, what can you say? I mean, Quinterio Cole, Zook, your guy, Seattle Sea Dragon, 8 tackles, pick, forced fumble. Like, what a game. Cam Kelly gets involved. He gets himself a pick. Mike Rose was back. That's huge for the Battlehawks to have a guy like him back as the quarterback of that defense. So, yeah, this is a defense capable of winning a championship. Now, got to get healthy. And the problem is San Antonio got hurt at the beginning of the season. Now you're hearing, could Chase Garbers be coming back? They're getting a lot of the defense back. McFarland's back. St. Louis, it's trending the other way. You're hitting your injuries at the wrong time with McCarron, Pierce, and Aitman. Not a great time to have those problems. The receiving corps did not step up today for Manny Wilkins. Butler did what he could. He got smacked across the middle 5 times. And if you know Tom Brady, who was at the Michigan game, he'll always say, don't throw your receivers into those kind of hits. That's your responsibility as a quarterback. And Manny Wilkins has to learn that because Hakeem Butler got killed out there today. But shouts to 88 for staying alive. Let's go to the next one, Zook. This one was also a playoff clinching scenario for the San Antonio Brahmas. They don't score a single point in the second half, but they do enough in the first to win it 20-15. Man, usually the theme this year for Arlington has been blowing a fourth quarter lead. This time it was maybe San Antonio who was about to blow that lead. Luis Perez, I mean, just such a typical stat line from him. 22 of 33, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he takes care of the ball with no interceptions. But the problem was San Antonio had Anthony McFarland back, and he unlocked the offense. Zook, with McFarland, is this a guy that when you saw, okay, he's going to play, he's been out for 4 weeks, you kind of thought, okay, he's still going to take a back seat to John Lovett, right, who has been the guy.
Sure.
But doesn't look that way. Looks like he might be the best player on the team.
Sure, and if you look at the stats, McFarland won the game.
Yeah.
We could talk about Chase coming back. We could talk about anything you want. But you're playing what we called Swiss cheese defense, Arlington, and you only put up 20. This is very concerning to me.
Yeah. No second half points.
Like, what's going on?
Right.
And again, Arlington is very dangerous offensively.
Yeah.
You only allowed 15, so you did your job. But you should be doubling them up for sure. You should be in the 30s.
Yeah.
So this, like I said, this is very concerning.
Tale of two halves in this one.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said, tale of two halves. I think I tweeted out the Brahmas had more total yardage in the first half of this game than they had in each of the 2 games before this. So they did turn it around offensively, as I kind of expected, and that's why.
They scored more points.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but they couldn't put Arlington away.
What are you doing?
That's the problem. And if you're in a situation where that's St. Louis and they're the one that's down on you in the playoffs and they got to rally back, they're coming back, right? Like, you got to slam the door because they're able to do enough offensively where they will come back. Arlington was not able to come back in this game. They were down 20-3 at the half. They make it 20-15. But, yeah, Javonte Payton had a few huge drops that should have been touchdowns.
Nelson. Go ahead. Fill the audience.
Zook loves the Nelson Aguilar reference for
I'm an Eagles
Payton.
fan. He's got Butterfingers.
Yeah, hasn't been good.
And so does Payton.
Yeah. Sal Cannella played his heart out. 9 catches, 87 yards, and a score.
Boulevard boy. Let's go.
Yeah, just talked to him on Thursday, and kind of felt like he was locked in. I mean, and you could see after he scored his touchdown, jawing a little bit with San Antonio. This is definitely a big rivalry. There's a lot that goes even back to when it was Arlington against Houston last year for the XFL South Championship game, and I'm sure it feels good for A.J. Smith and Wade Phillips that they sweep them, and they get the revenge from last year when they kept them out of the championship game.
Neither of these teams got to 90 miles an hour on I-35, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they were under the speed limit. It's actually game went under. I think we had 2 overs and 2 unders yet again. It's a big surprise. It seems to happen every week now. But, yeah, Arlington was the only underdog not to cover. Yikes.
Yep.
They were the underdog I thought would be the one to cover of any team, right?
Totally messed up my parlay.
Renegades.
Good thing we don't record me yelling while the game's going on.
Yeah, I thought Davion Smith should have played better, right? I mean, had a great game last week. Letty Brown was out. He only gets 10 carries, 38 yards. He gets stuffed on a 4th and inches.
Yeah.
When you said kick the field goal, right?
I
Talk
did.
about that a little bit.
Oh, God. I'm so tired of it. Coaches of the UFL, please do me a favor. Stop going for it. Points are a premium. When you got them, take them. This is totally changing the outcome of every game.
They would have been down 8.
Game.
They would have been down 8 instead of down 11.
And they passed up twice.
Yeah.
And if you go back and you look at every one of these games, everybody's going for the 4th and 2. Well, if it's in 4th and 3, right? They're going for it. Just take the goddamn 3 points and get it. These kickers in the UFL are legit.
Except for Santosa.
Today.
What'd you call him?
Today. You're just trying to get me beat up.
He's a big dude. I wouldn't mess with the big toe. Although he had a bad
What'd he go? 1 for 3?
Was he? Yeah, he did make one.
No. So, all right. You got it out of me. I'm sorry.
I had to have that one.
I'm sorry. Anyways, take the goddamn points. You need them. And it changes the outcome of the game and how you play it in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, why does San Antonio die for a quarter? Like, you could point to some of their big comebacks that they've had where they haven't scored a first half point and then scored all their points in the 4th quarter. You could point to games like this with them. They had a game like this against Michigan where they did the same thing. All their points in the first half, and they took the second half off. Why is this offense so inconsistent when it comes to, like, they're piling all their points in 1 quarter here? And is it because they hit explosive plays? Like, they had 7 of those for over 15 yards.
It's a script. It's the script. The first 20 plays of the game, right, are scripted.
Yeah.
You practice them in and out, and that's why Memphis is so good in the first quarter, right? That's what you say. Memphis is the best first quarter team in the league.
Yeah, he scored on the first play.
It's all scripted, and they play them over and over and over and over, and it's just natural for them players to do that. But
yeah, Renegades had a shot. San Antonio 0 of 3 on touchdown chances in the red zone.
Take the points.
All their points, right? All their points come on
take
explosive plays, and
every time you have a chance to get points, take them.
Renegades had 8 tackles for loss. Quentin Dormady. I mean, listen to this stat line. Ugh. 17 of 25 for 320 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. Wow. That was 17.8 yards of completion.
Yeah.
That might be the highest all season for any game. And that was Anthony McFarland, who, if you had him in DFS, man, you won your pool because I think he was listed as out on the DraftKings.
I'm sorry. I'm so stuck on this points.
No, I mean, yeah, it would have been 20-12.
Like, dissect every game this year. How many times have you gone for it and not made it?
Yeah.
And if you would have just taken a field goal and got it, how does that change the end of the game?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they would have scored.
We're not
right?
playing
so
Madden. This is not Madden 2024.
That was when it was 20-9. So they kick it there. It's 20-12. They scored again.
Right.
You're onto something here, Zuck. It would have been 20-20.
I know I'm onto something.
Well, they didn't get the 2. So 20-18.
I don't care, but it changes the end of the game.
Yeah. Shouts to Prince Emili for making a huge sack on 4th and 12. I really thought Perez de Canelo was going to work. I thought you're going to be in this. They've done it before, and San Antonio defense, like I said, getting healthy at the right time. Delonte Scott back in there. They got some defensive linemen now back in there. Secondary's shoring up and getting healthy. So I guess we'll leave you with this, Zook. Can San Antonio beat St. Louis, and how? And I'm not talking about in Week 10 when they're probably going to be playing for home field. I'm talking about in the XFL championship game. What's the formula for the Brahmas?
Put me on the spot.
early on. Yeah.
All
Like,
right,
do you
fine.
think this team would have a chance, first of all?
Well, same thing we said in the preview.
Yeah.
Is AJ playing?
Let's assume yes.
Assuming yes?
Yeah.
No, they don't beat him.
Right. I don't
They
think
can't
so
do
either.
it. They're going to need some.
Chase Garbers, though, might come back. I mean, is that real? Come on. I mean, I know
I'm not sure he's enough of an X factor.
he's
I would-
eligible because I think IR is 6 weeks. So he should be
Yeah.
eligible, and they talked. Joel Klatt talked about it on the broadcast today. Garbers coming back might shake things up a little bit. Gives him a little-
Maybe,
yeah.
but I think there's too much of a clash in San Antonio between Wade and AJ.
You can tell AJ likes to go for it on 4th down, and Wade might like the points. But hey, he didn't get the points today because your field goal couldn't hit
Yeah.
one. So
No. Sorry.
shout out John Trey Kirkland. I know there's been a lot of bitching and moaning about talking about player props. How about John Trey Kirkland? 5 catches for 48 yards. You know what that means? Over 47.5. If you had it, you cashed. Thank you, John Trey, for
Wow, look
the
at him.
hook.
He's plugging himself.
And 6 catches for 116 yards for Cody Latimer. Another great
Oh,
game from him.
Yeah, sure.
Quentin Dormady finding his favorite target. If you're Arlington here, a little bit of a mirage against Memphis. I think maybe we put a little too much stock in that Memphis game. Back down to earth now for the Renegades. And this was not, I mean, this was a chance for them to play spoiler. They did not. Now they've got, I believe, I know they have DC in week 10. Next week, who was it for Arlington? St. Louis at home. So, still 2 chances for a win, and I would expect that, especially with Arlington, you're already seeing it with Houston and Memphis. Houston played a lot of Henderson. Memphis played a lot of Love. Now, Love was due to an injury, but with Arlington, I think this is where you probably get away from Perez and see a lot of Lindsey Scott and Holton Ahlers down the stretch here. In fact, like we said on Thursday, Ahlers already talked about, hey, if you're a fan of mine, show up to D.C. because I was told I was playing. So we'll see how Arlington finishes the season. If I had to bet right now, probably 2-8. I think they probably beat somebody.
I don't know. It's tough.
Beat
There's-
St.
there's
Louis.
so
Don't beat
much that's
DC.
There's so much that's going on,
Yeah.
and you don't know what's going to happen. The playoffs are set,
Yeah, we're in.
so
Going to be weird lines next week with that situation.
right.
So
It's going to be tough to bet.
yeah, you're going to have Birmingham and San Antonio, which is big. San Antonio needs that for home field. Technically, Birmingham does as well, although they can't afford. Birmingham can't afford to go 9-1 and still make
Right, one loss.
home field. Right.
I agree.
But, you don't want to get in a situation where you're playing for home field in Week 10 against Michigan.
So, I do want to ask, do you?
Yeah.
And we don't talk about attendance.
Well, in case this gets clipped, yeah, put yourself up.
we don't talk about attendance. But does the home field really matter in the USFL division?
Yeah.
You think?
I think so.
No, so I don't think it matters in Birmingham. Does it matter if Michigan is home?
Well, let me get this out of the way first.
Oh, and
I don't know the answer to that until I tell you this.
okay.
I saw on Twitter about Michigan having an event booked at Ford Field for the entire weekend of the 8th.
Oh,
So them not being able to play in Ford Field. Now, that was nothing official. That was Twitter speculation, right?
okay.
But who posted that? I think it was the mayor. He calls himself the mayor. I always forget his name, but he called himself the mayor of the XFL. He posted about potentially Michigan having Ford Field already booked out that weekend. So we got to know that first.
What do you do?
Well, I
Wow.
think they're just counting on, Birmingham. Yeah. So, or is it, am I wrong? And it's just 8-2 is still going to get Birmingham in because you figure with the tiebreakers, they have more points. They have less points against. Like I think we're probably at a spot right now where we're going to confirm this for you Thursday. We know we're the tiebreaker kids and we're the ones who were in the lab with the spreadsheets last year. And it won't be that hard.
It won't
year,
be this.
I would be willing to say if they both go 8-2, Birmingham probably gets it at the home field.
Yeah, for sure. I just think that it's an intriguing question.
Yeah.
I think that if Michigan is at home their fan base is bigger, and Bates is in a dome, and I think that equals a point, maybe 2.
Yeah, regardless. I mean, in that game, Birmingham's going to be a 8.5, 9-point favorite. So Michigan's going to have to do a lot.
You heard it here.
I mean, geez,
For somebody
16 against Houston, man.
For somebody that hates the Stallions, wow, that's pretty bold.
Don't do that. Do not do that.
No, I'm just saying that's the rap you get.
Yeah. So
because I haven't heard you say one. Yeah, we're not even on this game.
I'll get us off the air before we do this.
Thank God.
So we were talking about home field in the USFL. Birmingham against San Antonio. San Antonio has to play for home field. Birmingham, maybe not as much of a reason, but they're definitely going to want to go in to San Antonio and try to win that game. So that line will be interesting. We'll have DC and Memphis. That'll be a game with no impact. We'll have St. Louis and Arlington in the hub in Arlington. And then I guess that leaves who else am I missing? That leaves Houston against who's Houston playing next week?
I don't know. You're supposed to be the guy that knows this stuff.
Yeah, really. Is it Houston and
give me that DC Memphis line.
DC Memphis, yeah.
Give me the line. What do you got?
2.
2.
Memphis -2.
Okay, I wasn't even sure if you were going to give me a side.
I'm not doing this.
I thought you were just going to put 2.
Who knows?
All right, let's go to the poll.
All right, let's get out of here with the poll. If you're on podcast, Birmingham at 1, 15 straight wins, 8 straight this season. St. Louis at 2, San Antonio at 3, Michigan at 4. Again, people will debate that, but San Antonio did beat Michigan head-to-head. DC at 5, Houston at 6, Arlington at 7, and Memphis at 8. Actually, no change from last week, even though I totally redid that from scratch. Now I got to know. I keep I'm just having a brain fart tonight, Zook. Who does Houston play in week 9? Arlington, right? No, they got St. Louis. That's why we go to Google here. Okay, so Houston, Michigan, week 9. Okay. That could be a shorter spread than you might think in Houston. That's a 2:30 game. We have a doubleheader at 2:30, DC, Memphis, and Michigan, Houston on Sunday. For the producer, director.
Hold on. If you want to watch both games, get a hold of me. I'm selling these VC boxes. You can watch whatever you want. Any out-of-market game.
There you go. Hit them up. zhubproductions at gmail.com.
That's it.
For all your technology needs.
Get a hold of me soon, though, too, so I can ship it out fast.
Yeah. For the People's Gambler, the producer, director, and owner of Studio Z, Chris Zook, I am Matty Fresh. That will do it for us. And always remember, there is no such thing as football season. We'll see you Thursday for a Week 9 preview.